Today we are driving the updated Skoda Enyaq. And the main question is, of course, is this one now one of the to-go for EV SUVs on the market? People are also searching more and more alternatives to the Tesla Model Y. Could this be one? In Germany, actually, more and more people are going for this one here. Now one of the most popular EVs on the German market. Very interesting. We'll find out about the changes and so on, and the consumption range here with the Skoda Enyaq update with Thomas Autogefuehl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. We have the Sportline here for you today, the sporty look. We can already see it here in the lower part, black contrast. And the race blue is a metallic color. The energy blue would be a base unicolor. So this one here is the more sparkling race blue. Then the dark Skoda lettering here in the front. We have it in that Sportline look. And you now get updated matrix LED lamps. Normal LED as base. These here are the matrix LED lamps. They are also standard for the Sportline, otherwise an option. And the daytime running light is split. And here in the top part, this is also where the turning indicator appears. Aerodynamic changes. You can also see here the air curtain. Air goes in here, and then for less turbulence in the wheel arch, for example. And the SUV is now at 0.24 on the CD value. The Coupé would even be 0.22. So better aerodynamics for the Coupé version. And yeah, it also has a very cool look. So it has also its pros and cons, because the Coupé on the inside only has the fixed glass roof. This one here you can get either with a closed roof or with a panoramic roof you can actually open. These are like the main differences between like the normal SUV and the Coupé. The SUV shape, more the boxy style. Length is 4 meters 66. Wheels go from 19 to 21 inch. These here are the 20-inch wheels. They are also standard for the Sportline. Of course, different styles are available. Technology-wise, you can optionally get a DCC, dynamic chassis control. That's the adaptive suspension. And I would also recommend it here for this model, because the electric models from the Volkswagen Corporation are kind of stiff in the suspension in general for like a good ride and so on. And that's why you need more comfort with this adaptive suspension. Here, a nice signature now from the tail lamp, a little bit updated rear perspective overall, and there it is, the new Sportline badge. Other than that, you have a black contrast here in the rear once again. As for the battery sizes, you have two different battery sizes now. The smaller one is called the 60 models. This one has a 59 kWh net battery, and the bigger ones, they are called 85, these models. So 85 and 85X for rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. And the bigger battery is at 77 kWh net. And the DC charging figures are 24 minutes, 10 to 80% state of charge, or 28 minutes then for the bigger battery. Acceleration-wise, it's very interesting. Rear-wheel drive only model at 8.1 seconds. Then the bigger battery model with rear-wheel drive only is at 6.7 seconds, but the all-wheel drive version, which gets the electric motor, additional one at the front, has the same acceleration figure. That's a little bit disappointing, honestly, but there will be the RS, the VRS model coming up, then also with a quicker acceleration. Let's also quickly check out if it has a frunk or not. Then here, there we go. Yeah, there is sadly no frunk. But it's also not a very long front hood, so yeah, not too much loss of space, but still a frunk would have been nice for sure. By the way, quick look here as well. This is here a red Coupé, so it has this different layout. And this one here would be rather the base model as the SUV. Then you can see there has more of these strong contrasts here in the silver part. In the Sportline, also Coupé, you have it all in vehicle color, but if you take a look here at the side, it's a very strong contrast, especially here in the lower part in the side profile. For some, this is actually too much, you know what I mean? So yeah, maybe they could have made it a little bit smaller, that contrast here. By the way, also 21-inch wheels, the biggest ones that are available. So I feel that in this case then, for example, here with our Sportline model, it's nicer when it is actually in the vehicle color, also in that lower part. Or what do you think? Now towards the interior with the key fob, yeah, high gloss black, nothing special. Then door closing sounds. Very solid, sounds good. Also with the rear doors, so kudos to that. And then inside of the doors, yes, the famous Skoda umbrella, of course. So against sun or against rain, always once again a highlight. There we go. And what's also cool that you can press it one more time and then it closes again. Then inside of the doors, here we have It's not so soft, but at least it has this nice structure. Then you have here in the Sportline this carbon fiber-like decal element. That's actually pretty cool. And then we have cover at the inside of the door, so it's a fabric covering. That's really nice, actually. Canton sound system. Well, you have a Sportline badge at the steering wheel, but it's hard to see actually here. And then here, a leatherette dashboard. That feels really nicely, good quality like that. And once again, the same structure with some softening on the top of that. And we also have a head-up display box here, for example, and small instruments. Then seats, you have either fabric seats for the base trim levels or a mix of microfiber and leatherette for the lounge, and here for the Sportline. The Sportline then with the sport seats. Steering wheel is perforated here. They don't have any animal-free material for steering wheel yet, sadly. I would wish for that. Skoda lettering on the steering wheel here now, on the airbag. Then steering wheel up and down, in and out, can find a good position, and real buttons at the steering wheel. These jogs here, for example, for the volume and so on. Here for the recuperation, going to talk about that one while driving, and a lot of stalks still as well. Electric seat is here with a lot of controls, even an electric lumbar support, and also with nice clicking sounds. And yeah, it's a really comfortable position, so nice, comfortable seats, really like that. And here is a closed roof in this case, which has a lot of advantages. So here with 1m89. Then welcome to the cockpit here. Now with a 13-inch infotainment system. You have like volume sliders here in the lower part. Yeah, maybe not the coolest ones, but I usually just use the volume function here with the scroll wheel at the steering wheel anyways. Then once again, you can see the leatherette covering really thick here. You can really touch that for the whole dashboard, and this carbon fiber style decal element. You have some real hotkeys, like here in the lower part, for example, when you want to change a driving mode, especially for the DCC, then you can also click it through. You don't have to confirm it in the screen. That's good. Or for the assistance systems, that you can easily deactivate some. Then we have a middle console, which has some soft coverings here, right and left. Not the top part, but here, this area then. And then here, soft also for the elbows. That's really nice. You can also adjust the height of that one. Underneath, you can play some Tetris with 1 and 2. Yeah, but honestly, I think it's more useful when you just have this open cubby hole space. So I would probably yeah, just not order them or leave them out there. A lot of space here as well.
And underneath there is something.
Underneath, yes, thank you so much. And you can also remove these rubber things here when you want to clean that stuff at some point. There we go. So for cleaning and stuff, more space here. And cup holders are not adaptive in the way that they hold bottles adaptively, but you can here like set them like this or like this. But this also feels a little bit cheap, honestly. And here you see these dots. Inductive charging pads here in the front, but you can also charge with a cable, 2 USB-C chargers here. And the driver POV here with the volume on the left side and Canton sound system. It's nice, actually. Good sound, can recommend that. And then here these small digital instruments where you can change something, like here, like for example, where the speed should be, right, middle or left. And there's also a head-up display available, also an option here even for the Sportline. With different functions, and then the main infotainment system. You can see here the Apple CarPlay and with Auto integration, really wide and so on. Temperature, not physical sadly, but only here in the lower part, and here's also the...
A little bit small.
Yeah, and it's really small. Yeah. It should be larger there, that you can hit it also while driving. Only the steering wheel heating, that gets a separate button here on the steering wheel at least. Yeah. Rear seats, first of all, this nice shade at the rear doors. There we go, good for the kids especially. Nice decal element, and then just no fabric inside coverings. It doesn't open too wide, this door. Gotta say that though, for like getting child seats in and out. And there's also ISOFIX on the front seat, by the way, here, and of course at the outsides of the rear seats. There we go. And this also stays in place, and the microfiber material is also, you know, looking quite nice, feels nice. And then let's see about that here. Folding this down, cup holders are not the ideal solution. This is the ski hatch like this, And let's see about the comfort. First of all, there is enough legroom left, even if a tall person is driving, like here on the seat. And headroom, also no problem at all. This here, there's heated seats when the car is running, and the climate unit, 2 USB-C chargers in the lower part, then more storage, also more cup holders here theoretically, or if you don't want to have that thing, just put the whole thing out. Everyone is looking forward for the boot or the trunk part here of the Skoda Enyaq, and 585 liters it is, 570 for the Coupé, because you just lose a little bit, you know, like here, but that's about it. Then here, this cover, press, and then you can also fold it open like this. Here the trolley fits underneath with no problem. And then about the measurements, first of all, here it's like 1 meter or 40 inches, a little bit tighter here between the wheel arches, wider than in the front. And then the standard height here is about 73 centimeters or 29 inches. And for this boot, like this lower part here, we can also move it a little bit more down, especially here in this area here. So first of all, the total length here of the normal trunk is also about 1 meter or 40 inches. And then here we can lower this here and slide it back. And you can of course also lift it out completely or fold it open. Then you have some storage here for the cables. Since we have no frunk, that's of course also very welcome. And then you have so many more features. First of all, here to fold the seats, pull this one here, left and right. There we go. And then we have, for example, here, these additional baskets or bags. Don't need to have them, but you can pull them out like this. This is here another storage possibility for a charging cable at the side. Also clever idea. I mean, why not? Using that, you know, like that the space behind the wheel arch. So that's actually quite cool. And some hangers here as well. You can hang some baskets right there. So some ideas as always from Skoda. Total length here is 1 meters 80 or 71 inches. From the exterior, I feel that the Coupé is even more beautiful and, as I said, more aerodynamic. However, only 10 to 15% of the customers go for the Coupé version, and the reason is right here. Well, you can still use this trunk or boot area very well, but the main difference is then here in the height, and I can show that to you when I remove this cover here. There we go. So, and then you might remember we had in the SUV, the maximum height here was 73 centimeters or about 29 inches, and that is here, like here. But here we are there at about 26 inches or 65 centimeters. So this is then the difference then in height. And if you think about a stroller or something like that, it can make a massive difference, or a dog box. So it does make it less flexible. And of course, it's a little bit flattened out here. So yeah, I mean, it's still cool, well usable. Also has the advantages, but this is then the height disadvantage. So about the headroom in the Coupé, this is very interesting. So the manufacturers use these fixed glass roofs to counter the disadvantage of losing headroom in the Coupé style. And they try to do that here as well. As you can see, like there's like this head area is cut out. But the problem is when you really lean backwards, you're already against the area where there's no glass anymore. So it still does work for tall adults like me, but it's a little bit closer than in the SUV, and you cannot adjust the angle of the back seat. Here, there's more space then, but no one does sit like this, you know, you would lean backward like this. So yeah, again, it still works, but a little bit less headroom than in the SUV, of course. Sport mode. Nice, that was 0 to 90 kilometers an hour. Still very silent, and it feels like a sophisticated ride. We have the DCC here, the dynamic chassis control in the Enyaq. We can actually drive a little bit quicker. We just let this car pass before we do another acceleration. Let's go. Oh, that's it. Yeah, it's really good. So definitely sufficient acceleration. We have 20-inch wheels mounted here. Standard for the Sportline. 21-inch would be possible. I would not recommend you to go for that. Rather keep it with smaller wheels for more riding comfort. When the road is even, it's fine. Good thing is here also when you do some lane change, it's actually a lot of fun. And in the sport mode, the DCC is also trimmed to a sportier mode, but it's actually fine as long as the road is then also good. And you have a good steering feeling actually, so precise commands. You don't have to steer too much. We'll soon also go into some winding corners to show you more about that. So it is a very well working motorway. vehicle indeed. And let's see more about the comfort. Next to the motorway, here's some B roads. Here the road is a little bit destroyed. DCC set to comfort, that's fine. Let me really go into these. That's good, actually.
Yeah.
Nice. So like, you don't get any like pain in your lower back from that and so on. So it's really nicely handled. So I like that. Here once again the road is a little bit destroyed. So it's a good bumpy test ride, so to speak. But I think it's handling that quite well. Let's drive a little bit sport here as well. And it's always a lot of fun as well because you have the direct steering. Of course, in the electric vehicles, at some point you also feel the weight. Can't deny that. When you're slow speeds and when the corners are not too tight, then it's actually fine. It gets a problem when you use too much hard recuperation and when the corners are getting tighter or something like that. As for our test consumption for today, it is nice sunny weather. However, the air temperature is quite cold. We did like two averages. So first the one when you were more city and speeds up to 100 kilometers an hour, up to 60 miles an hour. And there we could score some 17 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That would lead with a big battery to a real world range of 430 kilometers or like 260 miles. Then we did motorway, 130 kilometers an hour, constant cruise control, but at these higher speeds, of course, the EVs get less and less efficient. And there we could score some 23 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. That would mean a real consumption on these motorway speeds of about 340 kilometers. And about pricing here, when we take the German reference prices, 44,000 euros for a base model. And then if you go big battery, all-wheel drive, and here also the Sportline, you more get to a price of 57,000 euros. Then you can add some more extras like the DCC, dynamic chassis control, in this Max package, or you can add a head-up display, you can add panoramic roof, for example, and so like a fully spec'd one to the Max would be like 63,000 euros. What do you think? Tell me your comments and also check out the competition.